So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress. Be on your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast with Irvin Scott and Melissa Santos.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Grizzly Podcast. I am your host, Irvin Scott.
Hola, 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 and I'm your hostess with the mostest, Melissa Santos.
And today we've got a special guest joining us. He is an author / celebrity trainer, personality. He's also the CEO and founder of Forever Faith. Our guest today is Abe Cruz.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so grateful, first off. So thank you. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here with us today, man.
Hey, man, when I saw your guys' video on Instagram and I heard Melissa's voiceover and everything else, I was just hooked. I said, how do I get on? I got to make it happen. So I was excited about that, guys. So congratulations to you guys, because it's obvious that you guys are working hard and you're on your grind all day, every day.
Hey, man, we're on our Grizzly.
You're on your Grizzly every day.
So, Abe, man, you have a very interesting story. When we heard about it, we just thought, man, we got to have this guy on the show, especially because you've been through so much. And, I don't want to take too much away from you because I want you to tell us a story. So tell the audience who you are. Who is Abe Cruz?
Well, first off, I start this the same. English or Spanish, I always give thanks and praise to God because without him, I would absolutely not be here. There was only two options, either prison or dead. So prison was my story. We'll get into it. But I'm just so grateful to be here each and every day now. And I work my butt off because I have a second chance at life. I was born in East LA, East Los. So when I saw your video again, Los Angeles y todo eso, we get into the Spanglish. But, I was born and raised out there on the grind all the time. I mean, I remember cutting hair. I remember shooting dice. I remember shooting pencils to make money, whatever was necessary to come up. My father left when I was 4 years old. And, my mom raised me, my brother and my sister in a 1-bedroom apartment, pretty much my entire upbringing of life. That's how I experienced it all through high school until I got to college. But, I'm just somebody, I'm a positive, loving person. And now I'm here to share my story with the world.
Your upbringing, your beginnings were East Los, right? East Los, baby. So let's talk about how all this, how did you get to prison?
Absolutely. And, I think this is perfect, with the name, the Grizzly, because we're all on our grind. And Absolutely. Sometimes what ends up happening in life is that we're so focused on that Grizzly, on that grind, that we start to blur lines and we don't understand what's good, what's bad, what's legal and what's not. And I was on my grind so hard that I started, it didn't make a difference whether it was right or wrong. It didn't make a difference whether it was legal or not. So I got caught up in some illegal activity. But it all happened because I was so hungry. I played college football, college basketball. So I was a college athlete and I got involved with my first network marketing project. All right. I got involved with network marketing. And you guys are from LA, so you guys probably heard of 2x2.net. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I don't know why it sounds familiar. I don't know why I remember the logo, maybe.
Exactly.
I've heard of it, actually, yeah.
Because there was Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Bentleys driving around.
How about I went to a meeting?
You either saw the lime green Lamborghini or the neon yellow or the purple Bentley. Like you saw one of those, or the NSX. It had 2x2.net on it. So I was in college, playing college football, doing great. I had dreams and aspirations to go to the NFL or the NBA. I went home for a quick summer vacation just to see my brother, my mom, my family. And I see Ferraris, Bentleys, and Lambos and Prowlers. I didn't know what a Prowler was, all over the place. And my brother tells me that this is what's going on right now in LA. A bunch of 19, 20, 21-year-olds they're making 100 grand or more a month. And I'm just like, what the heck? I'm cutting hair as a freshman in college for like $13 a head. So I come back to LA and I'm like, all right, well, how do I become part of this? So I go to a house meeting and then I ended up going to one of their big conventions in LA and at one of the Hilton hotels. And there's like 800 people, 1,000 people there. And I learned the business in 1 week. I made $49 in my first check, $49. But I learned the whole business in 1 week, and I went back to college, to Wisconsin for my sophomore year of class in football. And my freshman year, when I came into college, I was nicknamed Hollywood. I had highlights in my hair. I had earring hoops, back in the day. I was Hollywood. So,
that was a stilo, man.
That was it, right? Tan skin and all that. So I go back now for the fall for football, my second year, and I come back with a suit and tie and a briefcase. And my offensive linemen, they pick me up and they're like, Hollywood? Like, who is this? And I'm like, hey guys, don't worry about me. I just started a new business and I'll share with you a little bit. So I go back. We start football camp. I'm going to class now every day dressed up in slacks or a suit. I'm a businessman, right? But I only made $49 at this point, but I still saw the vision and the dream. So I ended up gathering 5 of the football players on the team, the quarterback, the running back, another wide receiver. We sat in the football house, had no furniture. We're all eating top ramen noodles in college. And I pull out the calendar, a 2x2.net calendar, and it was all the cars. Every month was a new car. I met the guys that own these cars in LA. They're all making $100,000 a month. We can do this here in Wisconsin. So I told them, this is the vision. This is what we're going to do. I pull out my first check. I said, $49. I made this last week. It's for real. We can do it. They all pull out their mom's credit cards, their dad's credit cards, and they sign up for the first network marketing, venture when we're 19 years old or whatever. But long story short is, in 2 weeks, I made $3,000. We had like 50 people sign up. Before you knew it, everybody's is running crazy. Fireworks are going. And I end up becoming the next rising star in the company. So the corporate office of 2x2.net sent a leader out to Wisconsin. They shipped an NSX and then a Lexus. I'm a college student playing football, and we have an NSX and a Lexus driving around campus with the stickers of 2x2.net.
And you're getting fast money.
I went from, 1-bedroom apartment, never having $100 to now I got $4 or $5 grand in my bank account. That was a lot of money. So what ended up happening was my upline told me, Abe, you're never going to make the money that I'm making if you're still in school and if you're playing football. It's taking too much of your time. My coaches started screaming at me because I became a distraction on campus, and I had the cars driving around campus. Before you know it, we had like 2,000 people signed up for it. I was on verge of hitting 100 grand very quickly, and I dropped out of school. I left football. I left it all behind, and I stayed out in the Midwest for about another year, just traveling to Chicago, to Minnesota, all the Midwest states. And I just blew up the business. And I got a phone call one day where my upline says, Abe, save all your money because the company's about to shut down.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how is that possible? I just left my dreams behind. I left college behind. We have 3,000 people that haven't even made any money. Everyone's going to be pissed off. Everyone's going to be mad. And this is where you hear about pyramid schemes. Mm-hmm. So I lived through one, but I wasn't on the short end of the stick this time. I just happened to be one of the guys who had a positive experience, except for the ending part, But the best thing about that entire experience wasn't about the money. It was about the mindset that I had developed now, because I left your traditional education, and I encourage traditional education. I promote that, but self-education and entrepreneurship is the key to major, major success. I was kind of like, down and out, a little bit sad, but I had a lot of money in my pocket, so I was okay. I ended up eventually going back to LA, with some money in my pocket, started hanging out in the local areas, made my way to the Playboy Mansion, now living a crazy life. And that's where life started to spiral out of control, because when you start moving in those circles and you're spending thousands of dollars a night, it's a whole nother lifestyle of people that you start meeting, successful people, but now you don't even know who you're mixed up with. So I went from college, Playboy Hollywood, to making a lot of money, Playboy Mansion, to very soon I was eating top ramen noodles in prison.
Jeez. Things went bad quick. And when that happened, what was the immediate reaction, man? Did you start having regrets right away, or were you just kind of just focused on just trying to figure out what the next step was going to be after prison?
It was, horrible. I was at a point of depression real quick. Long story short is that I was so used to at that point now making money that I couldn't come back to LA and like work a normal job and make a few $1,000s a month. I just couldn't do it. So what I ended up getting into was I was personal training at 5 a.m. I was trying to sell houses and real estate and loans, as everyone was a loan officer at one time. And then I got into club promotions. So I started doing club nights in Alhambra, in Orange County, out near Fullerton. I started doing club promotions. I was bringing in thousands of people to a club. That's how I made money, right? I ended up getting into a car accident. I lost a lot of money. My mom needed help. I was acting as a selfish 21, 22, 23-year-old, just selfish. It was all about me, how much money I could make, what girl I could spend it on to try to impress. Because at that age, we're trying to impress people so much. And it's just not girls. We're trying to impress other men. Like we think we're cool. So that's a huge learning lesson that I really talk about now, is that it's not about trying to be cool. What's cool is being a good person in life. So when all that happened, I got to a rock bottom and I had two options. I ended up driving to Las Vegas because somebody offered me to become a stripper. They wanted me to be a Chippendales or whatever they had out there. And they're like, oh man, you could make $4,000 or $5,000 in a weekend. And I was excited. But I drove out there for the audition and I walked into the club. I wasn't even there for 5 minutes. I walked right back out and left. My stomach hurt. I felt wrong. I just felt bad. I could not do it. So I drove all the way back to LA and said, now what am I going to do? And that's where I left one bad decision to another bad decision. Somebody approached me and said, Abe, we'll pay you a lot of money if you drive from point A to point B, take this car, drop it off, and we'll pay you 10 grand. I said no for probably a few months. I said no at least twice, but I got to the point where my cell phone was cut off. I had an account at Wells Fargo, and I don't know if anybody knows Wells Fargo, that if you don't have money, you can withdraw $300. They just charge you overdraft fees.
No.
I had no idea. That's the number one secret now, I guess.
That's horrible.
So I guess you never went through what I went through.
No, I never had Wells Fargo, I guess.
You get to the point where you have no money. Wells Fargo gives you a $300 credit, but they charge you $25 for it.
See, I got Chase, man, so I got to move over to Wells Fargo.
But so I was living that now. Now I went from one extreme to the next, just trying to survive. I got into the car accident, couldn't pay for the car. My cell phone I'm paying $25 and $50 just to get the phone back on. I'm living life way too fast. The offer was there to drive a vehicle and I'd make, 5-10 grand for a trip. I eventually said yes. And the first trip was successful and I was hooked, because as soon as I got that money, what the first thing I did was?
What'd you do?
I put half of it down on the all black BMW and the other half on a Rolex.
Big time. Big money, Abe, man.
I didn't have no more money for the gas.
Oh man.
That eventually landed you in prison. And the reason why I want to, get to that part is because I know that that's when these epiphanies? I remember having this conversation with you when we worked together. We met a long time ago doing some marketing stuff, completely legal, by the way. Okay. For the record right here, I hope you hit record, right? So, okay. You know, you went through some challenges, but it brought you to a place that I feel like was like a turning point and like this moment that allowed you to become who you are today in a way, right? I mean, it's like the beginnings of that. And so can we talk about that?
They wanted to give me a 30-year sentence. They wanted to send me away for 30 years. And, you know, how does somebody respond when they want to send you away for 30 years? The first thing that came to mind was fleeing the country. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run. But my mom, una mexicana fuerte,
hey,
she grabbed me by the orejas and she said, let's get on the ground and we're going to pray. Right now, we need our prayer warriors. You need to change your life. You were headed down the wrong path, or you're going to die. You're going to, you know, or we already know where you're headed. So my mom prayed for me. We prayed. And I fought the case for 2 years. I got back to LA. I got caught in Oklahoma. We'll get into that, but I flew back to LA. I fought the case for 2 years. The DEA, FBI, they were following me around LA, Malibu, to see if they would find me with something else or if I would lead them to something else. My phones were tapped. I mean, I was living a movie. It was crazy. I fought it for 2 years. Eventually I had to turn myself in, but you know, the case dropped from 30 years to 25 years to 20 to 15 to 12. And then it changed from a violent crime to a non-violent. And the difference is that when you go state, because I went state, in a violent crime, which it doesn't mean you have to be violent, but the amount of narcotics that I had in the vehicle classified it as a violent crime. You do 85% of your time. So, you know, in a 10-year, you're doing 8 years and a half. Wow. So we dropped it from that to a non-violent, which was crucial because that dropped it to a 30 to 40% time now. So we dropped it. I turned myself in. When the day happened of court, the judge says, I'm not sure why, Mr. Cruz, but I'm going to drop your sentence now to 10 years in and 25 out, which at that point was still a blessing because I figured I'd be doing, well, my attorney told me, because I paid a lot of money, that I would eventually get a judicial review. In a judicial review, they give me 1 year review, stay out of trouble, do all the programs in prison, do everything you can to stay out of trouble. And in 1 year, they'll review it and they might allow you an early release. So we were banking on that. Well, when I was in there, my attorney sent me the letter 6 months in, and it says, you're not getting out. The DA denied your review. This is when life changes. I cried to my mom. I called her. I said, Mom, there's no way I'm getting out now. I could be in here for the next 3, 4, or 5 years. I don't know. And in prison in Oklahoma, 80% of the inmates end up raising their sentence while they're in there because they get into an altercation, they're fighting, something happens. It just happens. Defending your own self, defending your life. You know, that ended up happening. And I told my mom everything. And my mom tells me, son, you cannot worry. Do not lose your faith. She says, get on your hands and knees. And more importantly, right now, what you have to do is you have to sacrifice for God. And I said, how am I going to sacrifice now in prison, Mom? She says, you need to stop eating. You need to fast. And she said, and she pulls out in the Bible, you know, Jesus had to fast. In the Bible, the father of faith, Abraham, there's sacrifice. There's a lot of faith. There's testings of faith. And so she says, fast for 40 days. So I get on my hands and knees in my bed, you know, in my pod. And I ask God, I apologize. I'm crying. I'm weeping. And I'm asking him for a second chance. And I promised that when I got out, I would let the world know that it was him who got me through this entire time and that I'm on a mission for him, having his back now. You know, he's always taking care of us. So I start fasting, and literally, you know, within the first week of me fasting, I start to have these dreams and visions, and I'm just sitting there asleep. And, you know, all the inmates in prison, they're talking on the phone with their moms or their wives or their children. They all lost their faith. You can hear it because they come back and we play spades. They were devastated because they didn't know what they were going to do when they got out of prison, because they had the responsibility of paying bills now, right? I mean, when you get out, you still have to pay bills as a convicted felon. So everyone lost their faith. So when I started to dream and have these visions from my fasting, the first thing that popped into my mind was forever faith. Don't lose your faith. You're going to be fine. In prison, most of the time you're clicked up with your race. Raza, ¿verdad? I was like the only guy that would intermingle with everybody. And it's like God used me as a glue to bring everybody together. Okay. And I never got into a fight. I never got into no kind of altercation. I was so blessed and fortunate. And I started to write out the visions every single morning. And it pretty much became a to-do list and a business plan. And I wrote out, all right, I'm going to start a clothing line to move the world. I'm going to speak to all the youth. I'm going to speak to the world on TV and film. And I'm going to know that God is here for us. Because I think that when we're growing up, we get into a religious state simply because we're told to do that. You know, it's kind of a tradition, especially as familia Latino. You know, you grow up into it and you're in the church, but we don't really learn and understand what we're really doing. We're so young. You know, my story, my mom was a Jehovah's Witness. Most people don't even know what that is, you know, but that's what she was taught. So she taught me that. And then my father left. And then I learned, you know, being a Catholic and a Christian and so on and so forth. But the ultimate message was forever faith and that God is here for us. And so, you know, I went the rest of my 3 years and 9 months in prison in Oklahoma, preparing to get out because I knew that I had a mission and a calling on my life to go and help people.
Did you also have paranoia while in prison, man? Did you feel like your life was at risk?
Only for the first 6 months. So I was in over 3 years, almost 4 years, but only for the first 6 months was I at a point of like delusion and being depressed and paranoid. You know, in prison, you have to learn how to sleep with one eye open all the time. I saw a guy get stabbed with a pencil because he owed another guy 50 cents of a top ramen noodle. That, you know, that's how the kind of stuff that happens. So I was paranoid. I was scared. I was lost and confused for my first 6 months. But as soon as I got on my hands and knees and I prayed and I fasted, I would tell my mom, I'm at Boy Scout camp now. I understand why I'm here. The rest of the time, I was working every day. I created movie script. I created a comic book. I started designing Forever Faith. I started writing out marketing plans. I started talking about, you know, speaking to the world, speaking to the youth, helping these people. So all of this was written out and I still have it and it's all in my book. And my book is in English and Spanish.
Tell us more about the book too. So this book was being written while you were in prison.
So, yeah, I mean, I wrote it down. I would be writing a book, you know, I would be doing a movie. It was all put down on paper. It's funny because I don't want to change subjects, but I just received a letter on Facebook from a guy that I was locked up with in Oklahoma City. He saw me on Telemundo and he saw me promoting my book. And he said, Abe, I'm the rapper that was in the same cell with you. You told me that you were going to use me for your soundtrack of your movie.
So what's up?
Hey.
So,
and you're doing it and you're doing all that. And you were on Telemundo. How long were you on Telemundo?
Telemundo is like my home now because they called me back as a special host to be a fitness personality on another show, En Casa con Telemundo. So now I'm doing that with them and I'm a regular now there. So, you know, I'm connected to everybody there. And it's just a huge blessing. And they've been supporting me on my mission and my story. And it's more so just to help people, to inspire people, to push people so they can get on their Grizzly all day, every day.
And Abe, let me ask you this. So this whole fitness thing, how did this whole thing come about?
You know, so, you know, I mean, like I said, I played sports my whole life, football, basketball, track, volleyball. I played 4 sports in high school. I played 2 sports in college. And while I was in prison, you know, when I hit my depression, I stopped working out for probably about 3 months. And when I fasted, I went from 185 to 152 pounds. So I got skinny thin. I didn't work out because I was depressed. As soon as I prayed and I started my fasting, I started to work out again with plunger sticks, with broomsticks, with whatever we could, because we didn't have weights in prison. So I had to become creative. I wrote in prison that I'd be on the cover of all of the biggest fitness magazines in the world. And, you know, eventually it happened.
So on your website though, for your food prep, what website is that?
It's foreverfaithfood.com.
Is that where they can get prepped by you as well, like a program, if you will, with the food?
Yes.
As well?
Okay. So I have a chef. We have a chef in downtown Tulsa. We have a commercial kitchen, and they handle I don't cook. I'm not a cook.
But they handle, but you put together these plans, right? Or you put together the food, right?
It's pretty much my lifestyle. And then I just kind of recommend it, and what has been birthed from all of this was the mindset of champions. And the mindset of champions is really what I'm giving out. And I love talking about this because if you are not the best version of yourself, how are you going to help your loved ones? How are you going to help your family? If you are not the best you, that means that you're not making the most money you can make so you can help your children, so you can help your mother or whoever it is. As soon as you make a little bit, everybody comes to you and they want all your money. So it's super important. My mom sacrificed for three kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. I mean, we had what we needed, but we barely survived. And she could have left us alone. We could have gone hungry a little bit more, but she could have developed herself into becoming a little bit more. So I encourage self-education. One of the things that I'm doing the most right now is I'm speaking with juvenile detention centers, and I am focusing on their mindset and changing it. If they're 15 and 16, they have a huge future ahead of them. They just have to shift their mindset. So, I'm real big onto the mindset of a champions, putting God first, ourselves second. With that formula, you can't lose. I think Forever Faith and mindset of a champions, they work hand in hand because I'm a convicted felon. I couldn't get a job when I was out there. Nobody wanted to hire me. I couldn't allow the reality to bring me down. And I truly believe that we all have it, but we're so distracted. I had to learn in prison how to make the uncomfortable become comfortable. That's real success.
So many people go through stuff, but a lot of times they just, like you said, they don't have that mindset. And then they just like, oh my gosh, like, no, I can't do this because all these things happen to me, right? I have some family members like that. And so that have also gone to prison where they're just kind of lost. So what would you say to that person who is like lost, whether they went to prison or they've been hit hard by something in life? How do you help them reroute that kind of like depressive energy to do something more with that?
Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So when they see that you actually care, now you have their attention. When I get their attention, I let them know that I truly, in my heart, believe and know that they can attain anything they want, but they have to get over that mental block that's slowing them down. And I lend a hand. I grab someone, whether it's a kid or an adult, and I'll pull them to the front of the room so they can overcome their fear. And that's all it is that they have a lot of mental fears, and it's all mental.
And I feel like that's so important, right? I mean, having that guiding hand. I know you mentioned that your father wasn't around, right? And we're not going to get into just that topic, but just having maybe being that kind of father figure for these children that maybe, are like you, that didn't have a father figure. And then, maybe that could be one of the variables as to why they're even in that space. I feel like, you represent this in such a phenomenal way. So do you think that because you live that space, they listen to you more, like you're relatable to them?
God is using my worst situation to be my power. He's taking what the world would consider horrible, and he's turning it all into a powerful and positive way, especially for these kids, because that's the whole reason we're there, to talk to them. So, we're doing everything that we can to just move them in a positive direction. It's just focusing and dedicating, just like anything in life, whether it's the gym, whether it's your business or your loved ones or your family, you just put your heart and soul to it and you just make it happen.
So, Abe, when did the book get released?
It got released like 4 months ago.
Okay.
Where can we purchase the book? Is it on Amazon? Is it like...
Wait, so yes, it is, but I don't promote that. That because they take my money.
Okay. We'll ask this a question. We'll ask the question again. So where can we get your book?
Get it at foreverfaith.com.
Okay.
Because I will also I sign every single book that comes through. So I sign it with a positive power message. I sign every book first saying God first, you second. And in Spanish, the Spanish version, I say Dios primero, tú segundo, mente de campeones. So
love that.
Foreverfaith.com, you can get everything. You can get all my clothing, you can get my jewelry, my books, my supplement.
You're incredibly selfless and doing this for so many people. There's so many people that are going to benefit, these children in these horrible places that had, were dealt horrible cards to begin with, are going to have a fighting chance. And they're going to see your story and go, wow, if he can do it, like I can do this. That's where change happens. I personally feel like a lot of times people ask, well, what can I do to make a change? Well, just be the best incredible version of yourself. And then, that's inspiring to people.
And that's what the point is of these shows. And your show is to be that fuse, that we light a fuse for somebody. We're so distracted with life. We are so distracted on the new song, the new movie, the new food, the new thing that gives us instant gratification. The world is delivered to us that way. And it isn't until, like myself, I hit a rock bottom. You're trapped in a cell. You don't see the instant gratification of the world. So now you're focused on God and yourself. You hit a different level of spirituality. And I talk about it openly. And that's why I say God first. But I'm on a different frequency now. I'm on a completely different wavelength with everybody because of how clear my thought processes are. There's no more obstacles. I don't believe in that. It's just a matter of time before the solution actually comes into reality, So if I'm going to shoot a movie, it's probably going to cost $10 to $20 million. I don't have it, but I'm saying, all right, let me figure out how I can get it.
It's already there. It's just a matter of you getting there. You're like, it's there already. It's fine.
Somebody has it. I just need to go get it, pick it up, sign it up.
That's what investors are for. It's fine. That's why Shark Tank exists, right? That show, like people are in there going, look, I built this thing and it's a baby and I need help to get it in front of certain masses. And that's why people work together to make stuff happen, right? I'd rather have a little piece of something, big than have a zero, right? Like have nothing, right? And a lot of times that's what it is, right? It's all that mindset. And a lot of people don't know that, but the fact that you know that and you can go out there and it sounds like you can talk to these kids about business and talk to them about your reality, how you grew up, how, you can make it happen. That is, that's your testament. That's like right there. That's your legacy and you're leaving that. And that's beautiful.
What kind of advice can you give somebody watching this interview right now, or at least listening to this interview? What would you say to these people that are trying to make something happen with their life?
Well, I would tell them, thank God, first off, for being able to have the opportunity to move forward. So there's a lot of less fortunate people that don't even have the ability to have advice. There's people dying on a daily basis. So when you start flipping it, everything will start to move smoothly. So the advice that I give, and I keep it short and simple, put God first and yourself second. That's the mindset of champions. You can't lose with that. God first, yourself second. Let's go.
Yep.
That's it. God first.
I
agree.
I was actually just thinking this yesterday, walking. I had a vision of a big street, right? I don't even know if it's a street because it's pitch black. But I'm just walking, and you're just walking for miles and hundreds of miles. That's the path to success. There's just no one there with you. And it becomes difficult because people are afraid of the dark. They're afraid because they can't see what's in front of them. They don't know if they're going to trip and fall. They don't know if they're going to get tired and pass out. So they'd rather go to that street where there's lights because it's safer for them. It doesn't lead you anywhere. It just keeps you going in a big circle. Amen.
I want to ask, man, you got foreverfaith.com where they can go on right now and purchase anything they want as far as clothing. There's prep meals,
supplements, test boosters, weight loss,
all that. Anything else that you're currently working on right now?
Well, my focus is 100%. I mean, the movie is a big project. There's so much required there. I kind of step away and come back and forth and check on it. But my focus right now is how I get to all 2,000 juvenile detention centers across America, dialing all day long, calling the heads of juvenile detention centers and booking in-person or Zoom calls. So we're doing that every day. Now, whether they buy my book or not, I'm still doing it because my whole mission is to help them, right? To help them, inspire them. But they are absolutely loving my book right now. And the truth is the centers are buying my books more than the public. So if I can help these kids get inspired and they have something to read, that's the mission accomplished. Like there's so many other things. I mean, I'm involved in cryptocurrency. I'm involved in some other stuff, but like Forever Faith is really where we're headed. We do custom uniforms. So that's something that I don't even promote. You know, we're making uniforms for school programs. So I go and I speak with the students at the school. What ends up happening is the principal will eventually ask me to design their sports uniforms. So they're dropping Nike or dropping Under Armour and they're coming on with Forever Faith.
Let everybody know where they can find you.
So my social media is at The Real Abe Cruz, everything across the board, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, TikTok. I don't use them much, but they're all there. But foreverfaith.com is my main hub. Everything is at foreverfaith.com. And you'll be able to find links that take you to my food and my training and my mentoring and everything else. So foreverfaith.com is the main place. So everyone go to foreverfaith.com, get whatever you can there. Although it is a product, it's a message and it's a direction of life is really how I break it down because, you know, we got our water bottles. It's just the message, Forever Faith, mindset of champions.
I love it.
There you have it. Check out that website, foreverfaith.com. We want to thank everybody for listening to the show today. We want to thank our guest, Abe Cruz, man. Abe he's an example of what the Grizzly Podcast is. And we encourage you all to check out foreverfaith.com. Check out everything he's got going on. And he's got the movie in the works right now as well.
Thank you guys.
We appreciate you so much.
Really appreciate you, man.
Yo, turn it up. Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have ever thought that my life would be headed down this road. I was born and raised in East LA. My father left when I was 4 years old. It was my mom that was left single, raising 2 boys and a girl. Growing up as a child, my dreams ultimately were to make it out of the hood. I thought becoming a professional basketball player or a professional football player would be my reality. I got pulled over right there on the turnpike, and I get out of prison. I couldn't get a job. A year later,
celebrity trainer and personality Abe Cruz.
Abe Cruz.
that's the mindset of champions.
Forever Faith, Mindset of Champions, the Abe Cruz story, now available in English and Spanish at foreverfaith.com and Amazon.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.